Mom said the anniversary trip was canceled due to money problems. I believed her, until a week later I saw an 87-photo Facebook album of my whole family in Paris. I said nothing. Then she texted asking me for help. I replied with, "Imagine your family tells you they're too broke for a special trip with you, only for you to find them living it up in Paris without you a few days later." The betrayal cut deeper than I ever thought possible. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was doing what any self-respecting 32-year-old does, heating up leftover pizza for breakfast. Then my phone buzzed. An email from my mom. The subject line hit me like a cold splash of water. Bad news about anniversary plans. You know how some people text like they're writing a formal letter? That was my mom always. This email was no different. "Sarah, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but your father and I have to cancel our anniversary trip to celebrate your graduation and promotion. The budget just isn't working out this year. Medical bills have piled up and the car needs transmission work. You know how it is. We'll celebrate another time when things aren't so tight. Love you, Mom." I read it not once, not twice, but 3 times. A knot of guilt tightened in my chest. My parents had promised this trip 6 months ago. Paris. My master's degree had been a grueling juggle, full-time marketing director by day, student by night. They'd said they wanted to take me somewhere special, to acknowledge all those late nights and sacrifices. And Paris? That was Mom's lifelong dream, ever since she was a little girl watching old movies with her grandmother. It was our dream. The disappointment stung, a sharp, sudden pain, but I pushed it down. I understood. Truly. Medical bills were a nightmare. I'd helped them navigate Dad's knee surgery claims last year. Transmission repairs? Thousands. They were in their early 60s. Retirement savings mattered more than a vacation. So I sent back a message trying to sound supportive, telling them not to worry. "We can do something local instead, maybe a nice dinner in the city." Mom replied with a heart emoji. "You're the best, daughter." And just like that, life went on. Work was a whirlwind with a new product launch. My boyfriend, Marcus, and I started apartment hunting. My younger brother, Tyler, called to complain about his restaurant job. Everything felt normal. Peaceful even. Then came Sunday evening. Just 5 days after that cancellation email. I was scrolling through Facebook half watching a crime documentary, that tired state where you're too drained to commit to either. My feed was the usual mix. Former classmates' baby pictures, political rants, food photos. Harmless. Until Aunt Jennifer's post popped up. My breath caught in my throat. The title screamed at me, Mitchell Family Paris Adventure. And the cover image? There they were. My parents. My brother, Tyler. My sister, Emma, with her husband Brandon and their 2 kids, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. Everyone wore matching red scarves. My thumb froze. I blinked, certain I was seeing things, certain I'd misread the date, that these were old photos. But no. The location tag confirmed it. Paris, France. The timestamp? Taken over the past 5 days. My heart lurched, a sickening twist in my gut. I clicked into the album. 87 photos. Each one loaded slowly, a tiny detonation in my chest. Photo 1. The whole family at the airport, grinning like they'd won the lottery, boarding passes and coffee cups in hand. Photo 12. Mom, at a sidewalk cafe, croissant in hand, caption, "Living my dream." Photo 23. Everyone posing in front of the Mona Lisa at the Louvre. Photo 36. Tyler, making a stupid face with a baguette on some charming cobblestone street. Photo 47. Emma's kids, macarons dripping down their faces. Photo 59. Dad and Brandon doing a mock sword fight with baguettes near Notre Dame. Photo 74. The entire family, dressed up for dinner at what looked like an incredibly expensive restaurant, wine glasses raised in a toast. And finally, photo 87. Everyone back at the airport, exhausted but beaming. Mom's caption under that one. "Best family trip ever. So grateful for these memories with my loves." My loves. Plural. Apparently, not including me. I sat there for 20 minutes, maybe more. My phone grew warm in my hand as I scrolled back through the photos again and again, searching for some clue, anything that would make sense. Maybe they won a contest? Maybe someone else paid? Maybe these were old photos Aunt Jennifer just posted now. But no. The dates were clear. The clothes were new. I recognized the jacket Emma had posted about buying last month. Tyler's hair was that short cut he'd just gotten 2 weeks ago. There was no denying it. They had lied. Directly. Deliberately. While I was sending supportive messages about understanding budget constraints, they were booking flights and hotels for 7 people. I checked the comments under the album. Dozens of friends and relatives, gushing. Uncle Robert, so jealous. Patricia, you've raised such a beautiful family. Michelle, all together in the city of love. Nobody mentioned my absence. Not one person. It was like I didn't exist, like the family unit was complete without me. Marcus came over around 9. He found me still on the couch, phone clutched in my hand. I showed him the album without a word. His expression shifted from confusion to disbelief, then to outright fury, even faster than mine had. Are you kidding me? He fumed. They told you they couldn't afford. He stopped himself, taking a deep breath. Sarah, this is beyond messed up. I appreciated his anger, truly, but I felt strangely numb. The initial shock had given way to something colder, more analytical. Why lie? If they didn't want me there, why not just not invite me? Why the elaborate story about canceled plans? Marcus wanted me to call them immediately, demand an explanation. But I couldn't. Something deep inside me resisted that immediate confrontation. Maybe I wanted to see how long they'd keep up the charade. Maybe I was testing whether they'd come clean on their own. Monday morning, I went to work, acted normal, answered emails, led a team meeting, approved marketing materials. My phone sat face down on my desk, silent. Tuesday, I had lunch with my friend Kayla and didn't mention Paris. She asked about my parents. They're fine, I said, the lie tasting like metal in my mouth. Wednesday, Tyler posted his own photos on Instagram. Paris, you are beautiful, with a French flag emoji. He tagged our parents, Emma, but not me, of course. Thursday, Emma added a reel to her Instagram stories, set to romantic French music. Clips of the family laughing at dinner, the kids running through a garden, mom crying happy tears in front of some monument. Still no calls, no texts, no guilty confessions from any of them. They were just continuing as if nothing had happened, as if they hadn't excluded me from a family trip while spinning a pathetic lie about our plans falling through. That's when the anger really started to simmer. I started doing research. I wanted to understand what a trip like that would cost. 7 people. 5 days in Paris. Nice hotel, restaurants, activities, flights from Chicago. I estimated conservatively. $18,000 to $25,000. Possibly more. The deeper I dug into the photos, the more expensive details jumped out. They weren't staying in some budget hostel or a cheap Airbnb. Photo 41 showed a glimpse of their hotel room. A marble bathroom, plush robes, a view of Parisian rooftops through floor-to-ceiling windows. I reverse image searched and found similar rooms at hotels costing €300 a night. Minimum. Photo 62 showed a receipt just visible on a restaurant table. €412 for one dinner. That's over $450. They'd eaten at Michelin-starred restaurants while telling me they couldn't afford transmission repairs. Tyler had a new leather jacket in several photos, the kind that cost $600 or $700. Emma had a designer handbag I'd seen her admiring online months ago, a dream purchase she'd said was someday. That someday had apparently arrived in Paris. The kids had new iPads. Dad wore a watch I didn't recognize, subtly expensive. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment budget trip. This was meticulously planned, coordinated. Everyone had to get time off work, arrange pet care, pack, obtain travel documents. Emma's kids missed school. This had been in motion for weeks, maybe months. I went back through my text history with Emma. 3 months ago, she'd asked me what dates I had blocked off for Mom and Dad's anniversary thing. I told her I was keeping late October flexible, waiting for confirmation. She'd responded with a thumbs-up emoji. She knew then. She was already going to Paris, and just wanted to ensure their trip didn't overlap with any dates I might have been expecting to travel. The manipulation was so casual, so practiced, it made me wonder how many other times I'd been managed like this without ever realizing it. By the way, if this story is hitting home for you, or if you just can't believe what you're hearing, please hit that subscribe button. I promise, there are more unbelievable stories coming your way, and your support means the world. I called my friend Derek, who works as a travel agent. Hypothetically, I said, trying to keep my voice light, if someone was planning a Paris trip for 7 people, how far in advance would they need to book? At least 2 to 3 months for decent flights and accommodation, he said. Longer if you're coordinating everyone's schedules. Why? Just curious, I replied. So, they've been planning this since July or August. Maybe even June. All summer long. While I'd been excitedly talking about our anniversary trip, they'd been secretly organizing a completely different vacation. Family group chats I wasn't part of. Planning calls that happened when they knew I was at work. Deposit payments carefully hidden from any conversation I might overhear. And during all that planning, at some point, someone had decided to exclude me. Maybe it was a group decision. Maybe my mother simply organized it without me from the start. Either way, every single person in my family had agreed to go along with the lie. Friday afternoon, I was reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. Mom's name. Hi, honey. Hope you're having a good week. Quick question. Could you help me with something computer-related? Dad and I are trying to scan some documents for our insurance claim, but the scanner isn't working right. I know you're good with tech stuff. Could you come by this weekend? Love you. I read the message 3 times. She wanted my help. After lying to me, After taking a trip that cost more than my car while claiming poverty, after posting 87 photos of a family vacation I wasn't part of, she wanted me to come fix her scanner. The sheer audacity was almost impressive. I screenshot the message and sent it to Marcus. His reply was immediate. "You've got to be joking." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. A dozen responses formed and dissolved in my mind. I could confront her right now. I could ask about Paris. I could tell her I knew everything. Instead, I opened my laptop and created a new folder. I systematically went through Facebook, Instagram, any social media where family members had posted about the trip. Screenshots of everything. Photos, captions, dates, location tags, comments. I organized them chronologically and saved them to my cloud storage. Then I opened the original email from Mom about the canceled trip and saved that too. I went back through my messages and found every text where I'd been supportive about their budget issues, every instance where I'd expressed understanding about the cancellation. I created a document, and I started typing. Not angrily, not emotionally, just factually. A timeline of events with accompanying evidence. April 15th, parents' promise anniversary trip to celebrate my graduation and promotion. October 3rd, mother emails to cancel trip citing budget issues and medical bills. October 3rd, I respond with support and understanding. October 5th to 10th, entire family travels to Paris, France. 7 people, 5 days. Estimated cost $18,000 to $25,000. October 10th, family posts 87 plus photos across multiple social media platforms documenting trip. October 11th to 17th, no family member contacts me or mentions trip. October 18th, mother requests my help with technical issue. The document grew to 4 pages, including embedded screenshots. It was thorough, unemotional, and devastating in its simplicity. I saved it as family_records_2024 PDF. I made myself dinner, pasta with Jared sauce, nothing fancy, and sat at my table, eating mechanically while scrolling through more photos. There was one I kept coming back to. Photo number 53. The whole family at dinner. Golden hour light streaming through restaurant windows. Everyone's faces glowing with wine and happiness. Mom's head was tilted back in genuine laughter at something Dad had said. Emma had her arm around Tyler. The kids were making silly faces at the camera. They looked complete, like a finished puzzle with no missing pieces. Growing up, I'd been the easy child. Emma was always dramatic, always in some crisis that needed managing. Tyler was impulsive, constantly needing to be bailed out of bad decisions. Me? I got good grades, made responsible choices, paid my own way through college working 2 jobs. I told myself that my independence was a strength, that not needing constant attention was something to be proud of. Maybe they'd taken that independence as permission to forget about me entirely. I thought about every family gathering where I'd arrived exactly on time, while everyone else wandered in whenever they felt like it. Every holiday where I'd brought the assigned dish, while Tyler showed up empty-handed and Emma brought store-bought items still in grocery bags. Every birthday where I carefully selected thoughtful gifts, while I received gift cards and Amazon wish list items in return. I told myself it didn't matter, that I was secure enough not to need constant validation. But watching them celebrate in Paris, I realized I'd been auditioning my whole life for a role I was never going to get. The role of someone whose presence mattered. Someone they'd actually miss if she wasn't there. Marcus came home late from a work event and found me still at the table, laptop open, pasta half-eaten and cold. He looked at my face and immediately came over, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "You okay?" he asked, knowing I wasn't. "I keep wondering when they decided," I said quietly. "Was it one conversation? Did someone say, 'What about Sarah?' And someone else said, 'Nah, let's not include her.' Or did they plan it from the beginning, without ever considering me? Does it matter which?" Marcus murmured, kissing the top of my head. "Maybe not. Both options are pretty terrible." Then he said something that chilled me to the bone. "You know what kills me? They're going to be shocked that you're upset. They genuinely won't understand why this is a big deal." He was right. I could already imagine the conversations. "You're so busy with work, we didn't think you'd want to come. We thought you'd understand. Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" Saturday morning, I woke up to another text from Mom. "Just checking if you got my message about helping with the scanner. No rush, but would love to get this sorted soon. Maybe you could come for lunch." I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table. Marcus was still asleep. Sunlight streamed through the windows, catching dust motes in the air. Everything felt very still. Then my phone rang. Emma's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity and a growing sense of dread won. "Hey." Her voice was bright, cheerful. "Long time no talk. How are you?" "Fine," I said, my voice flat. "Working a lot." "I know that feeling," she laughed. "Listen, I wanted to ask a favor. Brandon and I are trying to get financing for a bigger house, and we need someone to co-sign on the loan. Our credit is good, but you know how banks are. They want extra security. Would you be willing to help us out? You've got that great job and solid credit." I couldn't speak for a moment. The sheer brazenness of it left me breathless. "Emma," I managed, "co-signing a loan is a huge financial commitment." "Oh, I know. But we're good for it, obviously. We just need someone to put their name down. It wouldn't actually affect you. Just a formality, really."
Just a formality.
Like excluding me from family trips was just an oversight. Like lying about budget problems while spending thousands in Paris was just a miscommunication.
I'll need to think about it, I said.
Sure, of course. No pressure. Well, I mean, we need to know kind of soon because interest rates are changing, but take a day or two. She paused. "Hey, are you okay? You sound weird." "I'm fine." "Okay, well, text me when you decide. Love you." She hung up before I could respond. I sat holding the phone, watching the call duration fade from the screen. 47 seconds. That's how long it took for my sister to ask me to put my financial security on the line for her, without a single acknowledgement of the fact that she'd just returned from a vacation I'd been deliberately excluded from. Tyler texted that afternoon. "Yo, sis, any chance you could lend me like $500? I'm short on rent this month, and the landlord is being a dick about it. I'll pay you back next month for sure."
3 requests.
In 24 hours. They needed my technical skills, my credit, my money, but not my company in Paris. I opened my laptop and added these new interactions to the document. Updated the timeline. Included screenshots of Emma's loan request and Tyler's text about rent. Sunday evening. I finally replied to my mother. I'd spent the entire weekend drafting and redrafting my response. Marcus had offered dozens of suggestions, from tell them all to go to hell, to carefully worded confrontations. But I wanted something specific. Something that would communicate exactly what I understood, without giving them room to gaslight me or minimize what they'd done. I attached the PDF document I created and wrote, "Hi, Mom. I saw Aunt Jennifer's Facebook album of the Paris trip, all 87 photos. I also saw Emma's Instagram posts, Tyler's stories, and the various comments from relatives complimenting our beautiful family. I noticed the trip happened during the exact dates we were supposed to be celebrating together, about 5 days after you emailed me explaining that budget constraints made travel impossible. I've documented everything in the attached file, including your request for help with your scanner, Emma's request that I co-sign her mortgage, and Tyler's request for rent money. I'm not angry. I'm not hurt. Those emotions require a baseline expectation of being valued. And clearly that expectation was misplaced on my part. What I am is done. Done pretending we're a close family. Done being available whenever any of you need something, while being conveniently forgettable when it comes to actually being included. Done accepting crumbs of attention while watching everyone else share full meals. To answer your question, no, I will not come fix your scanner. Emma, no, I will not co-sign your loan. Tyler, no, I will not give you rent money. What I will do is step back from this family dynamic entirely and build a life with people who actually want me in it. Don't bother explaining. I'm not interested in excuses about limited seats, or surprise planning, or whatever story you've constructed. The cancellation email exists. The photos exist. The timeline is clear. I hope Paris was worth it. Sarah. I read it 12 times before hitting send. My hand shook slightly as my finger hovered over the button. Once I did this, there was no taking it back. This would detonate whatever remained of our family relationships. But maybe that was already gone. Maybe it had never really existed the way I thought it did. I pressed send. The message showed as delivered immediately. Then, about 30 seconds later, the read receipt appeared. Mom had opened it. My phone began ringing within 2 minutes. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call. It rang again immediately.
Declined.
A text appeared. "Sarah, please answer. Let me explain." Then Dad called.
Declined.
Emma called. Declined. Tyler sent a long text that started with, "Jesus Christ, Sarah, way to overreact." I turned off my phone. Marcus ordered Thai food, and we ate it while watching mindless TV. He didn't ask if I was okay, because he could see I wasn't. And I appreciated him not making me articulate the mess of emotions churning inside me: relief, grief, vindication, loss, freedom, sadness. All of it tangled together. I turned my phone back on Monday morning before work. 47 missed calls. 63 text messages. 12 voicemails. I deleted them all without reading or listening. Then I blocked my parents' numbers, Emma's and Tyler's. I kept them unblocked on social media, because I wanted to see if they'd post anything publicly, but I unfollowed all of them so their content wouldn't appear in my feeds. At work, I told my assistant to screen any calls from my family members. If they showed up at my apartment, I wouldn't answer the door. Kayla met me for coffee on Tuesday afternoon. I finally told her everything, showing her the saved photos, the emails, the timeline. She was appropriately outraged. "They're probably panicking," she said, "because they realize you're actually serious. They thought you'd just be available forever, no matter how they treated you." "Probably," I agreed. "Are you going to talk to them eventually?" she asked. I considered this. Maybe. If they actually acknowledge what they did, without making excuses. But I'm not holding my breath. Kayla reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You've got people who love you. Real people. Not just blood relatives who use you." She was right. I had Marcus, who'd been furious on my behalf from the moment he saw those photos. I had Kayla and my other friends, who'd supported me through graduate school and career changes. I had colleagues who respected my work and invited me to their homes for holidays. I had a life that existed completely independent of my family. Maybe I'd always known, on some level, that I was peripheral to them. The responsible one who had her life together, who didn't need as much attention, who could be counted on in emergencies, but wasn't essential for the fun moments. I'd been okay with that role because I told myself it meant I was stable, reliable, mature. But Paris had revealed something uglier. It wasn't just that they prioritized others over me. It was that they'd actively lied to prevent me from knowing I was being excluded, all while planning to continue extracting favors and support whenever convenient. 3 weeks passed. The calls and texts from my family gradually decreased. I heard through mutual friends that there had been a big family argument about the situation. Apparently, Emma blamed Mom for not handling it better. Tyler thought I was being dramatic. Dad had apparently said very little, which tracked with his usual conflict avoidance. Nobody, from what I heard, had actually acknowledged that what they'd done was wrong. The arguments were about my reaction, about how to deal with me, about whether I'd calm down eventually. I received a letter in the mail, handwritten by my mother. I almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. It was 4 pages long, mostly explaining all the reasons why the Paris trip had happened the way it did. Space constraints, last-minute planning. Didn't think you'd want to go anyway, because you were so busy with work. Too expensive to add another person. The timing just worked out better for everyone else. Nowhere in the letter did she write the words, "I'm sorry." Nowhere did she acknowledge that lying to me had been wrong. It was all justification, and the expectation that I'd understand and forgive. I filed the letter with my other documentation and didn't respond. Marcus and I found an apartment together, a sunny 2-bedroom in a neighborhood I loved. We adopted a cat from the shelter, a gray tabby who immediately claimed the spot by the window. I got promoted again at work, taking on a VP role that came with significant additional responsibility and salary. Life felt lighter, without the constant background expectation that I'd be available for my family's needs. I didn't realize how much energy I'd been spending on maintaining those relationships until I stopped. 6 months after the Paris incident, I received a Facebook friend request from my nephew, Emma's older son, Joshua. He was 15 now, old enough to have his own social media. I accepted it. He messaged me a few days later. "Hey, Aunt Sarah. Mom told me about what happened. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry you weren't there. I asked about you when we were planning the trip, and Mom said you were too busy with work. I didn't know she'd lied to you about canceling. That's really messed up. I miss you." I stared at that message for a long time. Josh had always been a sweet kid, thoughtful beyond his years. It meant something that he'd reached out, that he'd seen through whatever narrative the adults had constructed. I wrote back, "Thanks for reaching out, Joshua. That means a lot to me. I miss you, too. The situation with the adults is complicated, but you didn't do anything wrong. If you ever want to grab lunch or see a movie, just you and me, I'd love that." We started meeting up every few weeks. Josh would take the train into the city, and we'd get food and catch up. He told me about school, about his friends, about wanting to study engineering in college. I helped him with his math homework and gave him advice about dealing with teenage social dynamics. Over the months, I watched him grow more confident, more mature. Through Josh, I learned things about my family. Emma and Brandon were having marriage problems. Tyler had gotten fired from his restaurant job again. My parents were arguing about money because, apparently, the Paris trip had actually blown through most of their savings. I felt nothing really hearing this information. No satisfaction at their struggles. No desire to help. Just a distant acknowledgement that these were people I used to know well, living lives that no longer intersected with mine. A year after Paris, my mother sent another letter. This one was shorter, less defensive. She wrote that she'd been in therapy and was starting to understand that she prioritized keeping everyone happy in the moment over being honest, even when honesty would have been kinder. She wrote that she couldn't take back what happened, but that she regretted it. She wrote that she missed me and hoped we could eventually talk. Still no direct apology for the lying specifically, but it was closer than anything else I'd received. I didn't respond immediately. I sat with it for weeks, showing the letter to my therapist. Yes, I'd started therapy too, working through family dynamics and patterns I'd never fully examined. Eventually, I sent a brief email. Mom, I got your letter. I appreciate that you're working on yourself. I'm not ready to resume regular contact, but I'm willing to meet for coffee at some point, just the two of us. If you want to talk, let me know. We met at a neutral coffee shop 2 months later. Mom looked older than I remembered, more worn down. We sat across from each other at a small table by the window, both nursing lattes neither of us really wanted. She told me she was sorry. Actually sorry, using those specific words. She said she'd let Emma convince her that I wouldn't care about the trip, that I was too independent to mind being left out. She said she'd taken the coward's way out by lying instead of having a hard conversation. She said she understood if I never fully trusted her again. I listened without interrupting.
Some of it felt genuine.
Some of it felt like therapy speak. Words she'd learned to say, but maybe didn't fully feel yet. I don't know if we can fix this, I told her honestly. I'm not saying never, but I'm also not saying yes. Right now, I'm okay with my life the way it is. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I understand. We finished our coffee, talking about neutral things, her garden, my job, a book we both read. It wasn't comfortable, but it wasn't hostile either. Just two people who used to be close, navigating an unfamiliar distance. I left that coffee shop feeling like I'd closed a chapter without necessarily opening a new one. Maybe someday my relationship with my mother would heal into something different, something more honest. Maybe it wouldn't. Either outcome was acceptable. What mattered was that I'd learned to value myself enough to walk away from people who didn't. Even family. Especially family, because those relationships can trap you in patterns of obligation and guilt that override your own needs. Marcus proposed 2 years after the Paris incident. It was a random Tuesday evening. No fancy planning, just the two of us in our apartment with a cat between us on the couch. I said yes immediately. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony with 40 guests, friends, colleagues, people who'd shown up for me consistently. Josh came, sitting in the front row and beaming, like he was proud of me. He was 17 now, nearly an adult himself, and seeing him there meant everything. My parents weren't invited. Neither were Emma or Tyler. Some people thought that was harsh. My aunt called to say I was being petty, that family was family, and I should let go of grudges. I thanked her for her opinion and went back to planning my wedding. Because here's what I'd learned. Forgiveness doesn't mean restoration. I could release anger without reopening doors. I could wish my family well from a distance without letting them back into my daily life. I could build something new without dismantling the boundaries that protected my peace. On my wedding day, surrounded by people who genuinely wanted me there, who'd paid for their own transportation and accommodations because they valued witnessing my happiness, I felt no regret. No lingering sadness about missing family members. Just gratitude for the life I'd built and the people who'd helped me build it. Marcus and I honeymooned in Japan, a trip we saved for and planned together. We took hundreds of photos and posted maybe 5 of them because the memories were ours, not content for social media validation. Sometimes I still think about those 87 photos from Paris, the matching red scarves, the happy faces, the complete absence of any acknowledgement that someone was missing. But mostly, I think about the life I'm living now. Full of people who wouldn't dream of excluding me and then asking for favors. People who show up, tell the truth, and treat my presence as valuable, rather than optional. That's not a consolation prize. That's not second best. That's the actual prize. The real family. The life worth building. And it turns out you don't need 87 photos to prove that. What about you? Have you ever had to draw a hard boundary with family? Or build your own chosen family when your blood relatives let you down? Tell me your stories in the comments below. I really want to hear what you think.